Thank you very much for inviting me as well today and for giving us the opportunity to share our views and experience on the Romanian economy. As a transition bank or development bank, I think our role is to support our economies, particularly during difficult contexts like this one. And that's what we have been doing. Last year has been an excellent year for us, as we managed to invest, I think, a record amount of around 710 million euros in Romania. It was the second best year since our establishment in the country, and of this, a big percentage, around 65%, were rooted towards green investment. And an even bigger percentage of that, 85%, were directed in the private sector. And I think in relation to the war, I think what I would like to mention is the fact that since last year we have in place a framework, special framework that addresses the situation of the war in Ukraine. It's called the so-called Resilience and Livelihoods Frameworks that covers actually the needs that we think are in Romania and the countries neighboring Ukraine on topics like energy security, municipal and national infrastructure, and liquidity through financial intermediation and capital markets. We have managed last year to use the framework quite intensively in Romania. From our total commitment last year, around 130 million were under this framework, and the framework is still in place, so we'll be committing soon additional amounts. On green investing, I think it's worth mentioning the fact that we have been doing that, it's in our DNA, we have been doing that for the last 30 years. And I think that particularly in this context, investing in sustainably in green is even more relevant because of its efficiencies, of its benefits, which lie into increased efficiencies due to decreased energy consumption and providing diversifying energy sources. And these green investments, the way we approach them are bilaterally, one through direct financings to corporates in Romania and SOEs, and on the other side through financial instruments. And because you have been mentioning the RRF, we are also working together with the authorities to deploy one of the financial instruments that we have under the RRF, and we are sure that we will be making the deadline by the end of June. And that would cover energy efficiency in the residential sector in the country. We are working on another instrument with MIPE to cover energy efficiency in corporates in Romania. Now, again, in relation to the war, although we kind of border Ukraine on the longest border, I think actually our view is that this is the right moment to invest. From that perspective, I think what we could do in addition to what Romania can do in addition to the practical measures that are taken is to invest in areas that provide this resilience in the sector and in the region. From our perspective, these are linked to what I mentioned before, mainly energy and infrastructure. And I think on the infrastructure side, the only thing I want to mention is that together with our other IFIs, with the European Commission, we are part of this Solidarity Lanes initiative, under which we are ready to deploy funds for critical infrastructure in Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, and Poland. We have been committing already funds in other countries, and we are ready to do so in Romania as well. In Romania, our focus is mostly on working with private port logistic operators to increase efficiencies there and increase capacities. And on the energy side, to be honest, what we see a strong demand for renewables. And we think that's the way to go, particularly in this context of energy crisis linked also with the war in Ukraine. And that's because renewables are quicker to deploy, and they provide significant efficiencies, and as I said also, they provide this diversification of energy sources that is very required in an economy that wants to be resilient and to provide resilience in the region in which it exists. We are working with the Ministry of Energy to implement the contracts for difference, and we hope that that will be an enabler of renewable investments going forward. So I think just to conclude, I mentioned as opportunities, I mentioned infrastructure, energy efficiency. We think these are the most important aspects on which at least we are focusing on in Romania going forward. Thank you so much.